We are coming off the best weekend yet for vaccinations. 6 million Americans receiving a dose over the course of just 2 days. If we can sustain that average, 3 million doses a day, man, we will be way ahead of schedule. And we should note, we're already way ahead of the rest of the world in total doses administered. That's up to 109 million per capita. We're ahead of almost everyone except for Israel and the UK. So we are doing a really good job of getting vaccines out the door. I know it's weird to say we're doing something well with COVID, but we are. Pretty soon, we are going to face the next problem, which is convincing people who just don't want to get vaccinated or have questions or hesitancy about it. Now, there's encouraging news on that front. The number of Americans saying they would not get a vaccine has come down quite a bit, falling from 49% in September last year to 30% last month, according to Pew polling. But that's still quite a bit of lingering resistance, and it's particularly prevalent in groups like white Republican Trump voters. The question is how to reach those people. Longtime Republican pollster Frank Luntz convened a focus group of vaccine-hesitant Trump voters over the weekend and found that sound medical advice rather than political messaging was actually what resonated with them.
I would say I was 50-50 when we started. I'm maybe 75 in favor now of getting it, only if it means I can get into the nursing home to see my mother. That would probably push me a lot quicker. I like the doctors. I like the medical situation when they give us the facts and talk to us without any politics involved. I think that helps me see that my bias was probably with the political side of it, getting involved and just separating the medical side of it. If I can look just at the medical and health side of it, I'm much better off than when they mix politics in with it.
Erin Banco is a healthcare reporter at Politico, where she's been covering the vaccine rollout and the Biden administration's planned campaign to convince vaccine skeptics to get the shot. Erin, I know from my own reporting that they're very aware, particularly because they have so much supply secured, that they're going to reach a point where supply is not the limiting factor. It's getting it to people. What are they talking about? How are they strategizing about this inside the White House?
So this has been something that top health officials in the Trump administration and now in the Biden administration have been worrying about for months, as you know, Chris. And so what the discussions look like now inside the White House is how do we go about rolling out what they're calling a vaccine confidence campaign to convince large swaths of this country to go ahead and get vaccinated. Now, each population that is showing some signs of vaccine hesitancy, they're going to require different strategies. But the next big step for White House officials and health officials inside the Biden administration is actually go ahead and just roll this new campaign out, which will rely a lot on advertisements, both on social media and on television networks. And it will include interviews with top health officials and doctors from across the country going on radio shows, particularly hyper-local news outlets, to sort of spread the message about vaccine efficacy and safety.
One of the findings of that, again, it's not scientific, but that focus group, is that, you might think, well, if you get validators who are big, have political affiliations with groups, that will be helpful, cultural affiliations. But largely what was found there, and I think this is important, is you just got to persuade people grounded in the data. I mean, you got to go to people and say, look, they ran these experiments. They're really big. We've been, this is what the data says about its safety and its efficacy. And that, which sounds the most straightforward, in some ways kind of the most boring, might actually be the most important way to do this.
What's interesting about that, Chris, is this has been the strategy all along. Since the vaccine first came out under the Trump administration, health officials under the Trump administration knew from the very beginning that we were going to need doctors and scientists out there speaking to the public about the efficacy, about the safety. Dr. Fauci raised this, throughout the fall and into the winter, saying this is what we need to do. The fear at that point with the initial rollout in December was that there were large portions of our healthcare workers that were not signing up to get the shot or were hesitant about getting the shot. And so Dr. Fauci in particular and other health officials were concerned about how do we get the American public to sit down or to understand that this vaccine is safe. It will prevent severe disease. It is very, efficacious. And so the problem they're running into now is you're not going to have be able to have, thousands and thousands of focus groups like the one we just saw, where people can spend an hour and sit down and learn the science and learn what's been going on. The government is going to need to put out advertisements across the country and continue to just talk about this issue over and over and over again, because not everyone has the time to sort of sit down and read a study.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I mean, part of the problem here, too, is the craziness, the signaling from the ex-president who, had he wanted to, could have done what a lot of people have done, is just get it on camera, make a big deal about it. In fact, taken a big victory lap, right? He could, look, Operation Warp Speed. I leave this as my gift to you, America, from, he did get vaccinated in private, and we've got polling out that shows that only 15% of Republicans who say they've seen, read, or heard a lot about Donald, Melania Trump getting vaccinated. Like, that was the choice he made, and it has consequences.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's sort of interesting. You would think that after such a big accomplishment with Operation Warp Speed, that the president and his officials would want to sort of go out there and promote the fact that they were signing up to get the vaccine, that it's safe. If you remember, there was a plan for a big vaccine rollout that sort of got hindered there for a bit with the congressional investigation. But even so, I would have assumed that Trump himself would have wanted to go and show the country, that this vaccine that he helped create and fast track was safe and efficient.
Erin Bonko, who's been doing great reporting on this, thanks so much for making a little time with us.